All right, so this is the first actually workshop I've done in probably about 3 weeks, 4 weeks. But anyways, we're going to be talking about two-weapon fighting tonight, and there's not a lot of rules to two-weapon fighting in D&D 5e. It's actually really straightforward. There's not a lot of hidden rules, underlying mechanics. It's straightforward, and I'll read it to you. This is exactly out of the player's handbook. Two-weapon fighting. When you take the attack action and attack with a light melee weapon that you're holding in one hand, you can use a bonus action to attack with a different light melee weapon that you're holding in the other hand. So what that means is this. You have to take the attack action first off. You have to. So when you take the attack action, that gobbles up your standard action for the round. And when you attack with your primary hand as a bonus action, you attack with your offhand. It doesn't mean that everything comes in one and you still have a bonus action left over. No. You attack with your standard action, bonus action attack. That's it. Now, here's where a lot of people stop reading. Alright, you got to also make sure that the weapon is tagged light. If it's not tagged light, then you can't use it. So you can't two-weapon fight with long swords or anything like that. Not unless we'll talk about that later. But core stock rules, light weapons, daggers, short swords, small stuff like that. Alright? Now, your primary attack is always going to have your ability modifier added in there for your primary weapon. When you're two-weapon fighting, you do not add your ability modifier to the damage bonus. You just don't do it. I guess that is their penalty for attacking with two weapons in a round. So some editions will give you, like 3.5, give you a negative modifier for every other attack after the first. It doesn't work like that in 5th edition. You just don't add your bonus damage. Your ability modifier. So if you're using, short sword, then you don't add your strength or your whatever. All right. Now, if it's a negative modifier, then you would. So if you have like a horrible dex or strength, then yeah, you would put that negative modifier in there. But I don't believe anybody would actually. I'm glad they kind of added that in there. But I don't think anybody two-weapon fighting would have a negative modifier. I'm just looking at it, logically. So here's one other thing. If the weapon has the thrown property, you can throw the weapon instead of making a melee attack with it. So sure. And and you can interpret this different ways. So do you have to throw the first attack to throw the second attack? It doesn't say that. I allow my players in my game, if they want to attack, with their primary, and if they want to, and if that thing goes down, and they don't have movement left, then they can throw that weapon at another target with as their bonus action. I allow to do that. I mean, you can interpret that last part several different ways, and that's the beautiful thing about 5e. Everybody interprets things different ways because there's a lot of areas that just really aren't discussed. So, alright, two-weapon fighting. That's just the basics of two-weapon fighting. But there's other things that you can do to enhance two-weapon fighting. So, one way to enhance two-weapon fighting, there's only two ways. Playing a fighter or playing a ranger. Because the fighter and the ranger, they get a two-weapon fighting style, and what that does is it basically contradicts the core rule, and it basically allows you to add in your ability modifier to the damage of your bonus offhand attack. So, and I believe that's level 2 for the ranger and level 1 for the fighter. So if you take that fighting style, you can get your damage back. So now two-weapon fighting even gets a little bit better. And then you can even go as much to say it can really get good by spending a feat on dual wielder, because when you have dual wielder, it does certain things. First off, if you've got two weapons in your hands, two light weapons, or if you take the dual wielder feat, you don't even need to have light weapons anymore. You can have one-handed weapons. So if you're two weapon fighting with the feat, it'll give you one armor class more. Hey, that's positive right there. And then the second thing is you can now negate the light weapon, and you can dual wield longswords like Kadojo does. He has the katanas, which are basically longswords. So now you've upgraded your damage from a D6 to a D8 and a D8 from main hand and offhand. And if you take the two weapon fighting style, you're going to get to add that bonus damage onto your offhand, which is even better yet. So two weapon fighting can actually be really devastating if you really plan it accordingly. And then another great thing about D&D 5e is part of your movement, you can pull out a weapon. It doesn't cost a minor action like it did in 4th edition. But with dual wielder, you can stow and pull both your weapons out. You can stow both your weapons. You can pull both your weapons out as part of your movement action. So two weapon fighting and dual wielding, and with the correct fighting style, is really nice. And I know the paladin also gets a fighting style also, but they do not get the two weapon fighting option. I believe they get defense instead, which gives them a permanent one to armor class. I think that's what the case is. So, hey, two weapon fighting, very good. But can two weapon fighting really screw you? Yeah, if you're a rogue. I mean, if you're a rogue and if you want to get in there and you use your movement, you think you're all sly, you go in there and you get in there and you attack, and then you use your bonus action to attack again. So now you got Snaggletooth the Orc's attention, and here you're packing like a 13 or 14 armor class, maybe 15 because of dex and leather armor. So now you got Snaggletooth all pissed off at you, and here, I'm going to go ahead and use cunning action. Wrong, because you already burned your bonus action to attack with your offhand. So think about it. Think about two weapon fighting, because when you're in your bloodlusting rage doing your multiple attacks, just think, if you're a rogue, if you want to get out of dodge still, you better have that bonus action saved so you can use it to escape out. So don't forget that. But I think that's about it with two weapon fighting. That's everything that you really need to really worry about. But it's like one more thing to touch on that. If you're charging in as a rogue, you're already getting sneak attack. So is that offhand 1d6 with no mod, or 1d6 with a mod, or maybe your dual, maybe your two weapon fighting with two longswords at a higher level with the feat? Maybe you're doing that. I mean, is that extra attack really worth not being able to use cunning action and get out of there? So that's something to think about. All right, so there you go, guys. That is two weapon fighting in D&D 5e.